Okay. Are you recording? Yes. Okay. Time is 5:04 and we will begin with roll call.
Brady Croson, present.
Emily Cunningham, present. Okay. You have start with Coach Rice for the first public comment up.
Rice will be very quick. So here, let me get this out. You go past the run.
Oh, yeah, we saw those.
Start with these on this side.
Oh,
You guys can pass them.
Yeah.
I am what today is. I am here to be begging for a $7,000 donation for the board can get these rings approved.
It's in reference to the expenditure requested on your agenda item.
Yeah. So we went 37-3 this year, one state, and these boys really deserve a ring. We have some other rings that are not as cool as this one. Dalton came by, he brought a 4-foot case full of rings. I was able to see, like all of them. It felt really good and looked really good. And it's gonna come with this box. It's gonna come with, like a lot of different more things to go. But, these kids really deserve this. We raised money for it already, but we are just trying to get the ball rolling on this thing. He's supposed to come by at the end of this month for like sizing, and we kind of want to go ahead and get it out the way so that we can just have this in play. I've been super busy with, like all the other things that's been going on with like the, team and everything else. But I just really wish that we can get some final help on this situation. And if you have any other questions, yes.
How much have you raised so far?
We have raised $2,388 so far. We have some more people that's, just going to donate. UIL is going to send us a check probably like at the end during like this summertime. Like all the teams get it, for going to state. So
We just don't know that.
yeah, we don't know if it's gonna be 4,000 or 2,000. It's only have an idea.
Is the 2,300 that you raised, is that, the 7,000, is that with the 2,300 or without?
No, I'm saying,
Hey,
total policy.
Hang on a second. So he's in public comment. There's an agenda item for the expense that we can do lots of questions. Are you able to stay for a few minutes?
Yes,
To answer questions by the board during the agenda item?
yes.
Perfect. Thanks. Anything else you'd like to add in your public comment?
Yes. No, not now. Thank you. I will later.
Write down your question.
Yes.
Write down your question. And on the agenda item, we can bring him back up and he can be a part of the discussion.
Only so much.
All right. Okay. Anything else?
So you're gonna say.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
We'll follow up with this item in just a few moments on the agenda, and I'm sure there'll be some questions. Thank you. Another public comment.
We do have another comment.
So I don't really have anything as exciting as that, but I have a few words to say to the board at large. Changing any space requires dedicated vocal individuals willing to speak their minds, but just as crucial as leadership is both receptive and proactive. During my time at Rapoport Academy over the past 8 years, I advocated in the space for initiatives such as the formation of a debate program and an overhaul of our lunch offerings, often in a manner not unlike a mosquito spring area. But the board has always been gracious listeners, willing to take action on behalf of all students. As I prepare to leave this campus behind after 8 years, I can clearly see that the efforts of this board and everyone in this community begin to come to fruition. In the form of the Raven Gym, a state championship, a new food service director, a speech and debate class accompanied by a competitive royal team, a soccer program at both the middle school and high school levels, and countless small intentional changes that build bridges to lasting growth. So today, I don't come to you petitioning for once or proposing new policy, but simply to say thank you to you all. Through your tremendous work, it often goes unrecognized, but each of you have loved the school better than you found it. And on behalf of all my classmates, we are incredibly thankful. So thank you.
And I'll have the record note that Mr. Kelly was a key part of a lot of those initiatives that he named, so.
Yep.
Thank you.
You.
Okay. Fun. Celebrations and recognitions.
Bond, did you want to celebrate one?
Yes, I do, and it is so wonderful. First of all, it's good to see you all again. We were always talking about what we're gonna do this year for our 18th grade each year. We choose marshals and people who represent our community. And it was decided today that we would like to invite our Rapoport basketball boys, coaching staff and team to be our honorary Juneteenth marshal. Everyone who would like to join in with Rapoport to lead the parade behind our grand marshal, Tiffany Switzer, our new WISD superintendent. We want to focus on the excellence that's happening in our community, on the work that's happening with youth, and we can think of no better way to celebrate something that happened right in our neighborhood.
Right. Great. That's awesome. That's great. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, all right,
Hey.
so I'll start out with some quick district celebrations and then turn it over to our campus leaders. We did award our quarterly Every and Everyday Staff Awards. And Coach Rice, yeah, also Ms. Howard, fourth grade teacher. Ms. Well, isn't it y'all? Miss Allen, I almost called her Miss Howard, I know that's already. At Llewellyn, and Cotton also in the room. Hi. Again tonight for celebration. As our district winner, and Mrs. McKenzie from middle school. What was great this time around is that 3 of these staff members were nominated by students and or multiple students. So that's one of the things that we're hoping is that it's, you know, family members and students, parents who are recommending these people be honored. So we'll have one more round of those going before the end of the school year. And then also I have, yay, take one and pass, I'll pass it this way. Y'all are all invited to our district art night.
Yes.
It's been called Art for All this year. It's Art Lights Up the Night. There's going to be art on display. If you've been here in the past, I know several of you came because it was on a board meeting night, so that was kind of handy. It'll be here in Gomez, and there'll be art on display from pre-K through 12th grade. And they've been collecting art all year long from all of our students. There'll be some hands-on things. We'll have food and drinks available for sale and art entrepreneurs. So if you want to come and support our entrepreneurs, you can buy something handmade by our students. Great opportunity for maybe a Mother's Day present or, you know, gift opportunity. Great option. So that's Tuesday, April 29th here at 5:30. And we would love you guys to join us for that. It's always really, really fun. And there'll be some glow-tastic things happening with the art lighting up the night. There's supposed to be a black light wall with art that glows and things like that. So get excited. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then Jennifer?
Oh, Miss T, come on up.
Oh, yes.
The art thing, Region 12 on the 22nd is having their art opener, and there are students from Rapoport Academy whose artwork has been submitted, and it'll be on display for 3 years. So,
Oh, wow.
if you find time to pop in over there.
We shared our literacy framework with you all a few months ago. It was submitted to TEA, accepted by TEA, and we received word last week or the week before that we received the perfect 21 out of 21 score right. Instructional and all her work is amazing, incredible, so vital to watch in elementary. So we don't get perfect scores on a whole lot what we do for TA. So we're gonna celebrate this.
Yeah.
Yes, perfect scores for TA are great.
Tell you how much growth is coming. Right, you know, the
Yeah.
structures and the systems and then
Yeah.
the rest of it.
We have a parent meeting coming up at the beginning of May where we're gonna roll this out to parents at the elementary. We're very excited about that. So we're planning that so that we can give them this instructional framework and really use that as kind of the foundation and the bedrock for what we do moving forward. So anyway, I want to celebrate Miss T and the amazing work that she has done to make this.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yep.
That we have had a lot of really great collaboration with Triple Win recently. So our second graders last week got to go on a field trip with Triple Win. We've got another field trip next week for the other half of the second graders. And the third and fourth graders will all be going Triple Win, and Triple Win will be coming to the pre-KK1 campus to do activities there. But it's really great for our youngest, littlest learners to be partnering with Triple Win and seeing what they're doing. And for Triple Win to be engaged with our kiddos in that way. And so we're very, very thankful for the partnership that's happening. There may have been a text message sent about this that said that the elementary kids are more well-behaved than high schoolers. Maybe there was a text message about that, but it was really, really great. And we're very thankful for the time the kiddos had. They were building things when they were there. They got a tour of Triple Win, and then they were able to build some stuff that they really, really loved. So we're very thankful for that partnership.
And I love that the way this came about was twofold. One of them, sitting over talking with Corey, who is kind of our director over at Triple Win, Rapoport director over there, is we were talking about like, how do we get more kids engaged and involved? And he said, well, we got to start earlier. So then we were brainstorming and it was like, well, how early do we want to start? Well, let's start at pre-K. Well, how do we get them engaged at pre-K when you've got like machinery? And from that stems multiple conversations where now we are going all the way into pre-K, talking about STEM, Triple Win kind of pathway stuff, all the way up. So the goal is to start early and get them engaged and connected all the way in and bring it all the way up. So Jennifer and her team are very eagerly like, yes, come to us. Yes, we'll come to you. Like, you just tell us how to get where and what we're doing. And then Triple Win is taking care of the learning part of it. And so I'm really excited about what it's going to grow into as we move. There you go.
Can you go back one? Let me just say one other thing. Another cool thing that we've done recently with elementary is that we have a high school student. You all had cookies one night from Darren Fields, these cookies. She recently reached out to elementary and said, hey, can I sell my cookies at the elementary campuses? So she brought buckets of cookies over with a flyer and QR codes for teachers to Venmo her. And she is selling cookies at elementary. And Miss T and I were commenting today how many cookies were already sold. And so I love the ways that we're starting to just cross over in what's happening from secondary to elementary. And that's just another kind of example of this sort of work together.
Championing our own entrepreneurs, absolutely, we're all here, right?
Yeah.
Love it.
That's great.
For the very first time ever, our middle school students participated in the junior base competition. Base is the visual art scholastic event. Who's participated in that? It's the UIL art competition in the state of Texas. We celebrated our high school success in that. In fact, very soon we have 2 of our high schoolers headed to the state competition. But for the first time ever, we took middle school to the junior base competition, and they had tremendous success. This was thanks to the hard work of Sarah Becker, who's our middle school art teacher, works very closely with Natalie Ward, our high school art teacher. We had 6 gold medals and 2 platinum medals in our very first competition. Our 5th graders have also competed in a different version of this since they're on the elementary, considered in the elementary side, and so we'll celebrate some of their successes at another time. But we're just really proud of, I think, another example of how we're starting things as early as we can and preparing students to follow the success we see older at English grade. So proud of our middle schoolers in the art competition. We participated for the 2nd year in one act play, and our one act play students advanced beyond district into by district for the first time ever. So beyond district competition. This is, as I said, the 2nd time that we've participated in this. It's a lot of work outside of school. We do this currently as a club, so none of it happens during the school day. Students and staff sponsors spend hours and hours and hours working through costumes and set design and lighting, and there's a crew and a cast that perform. We have really special thanks to Lindsay Pack and Natalie Ward, who are the 2 staff sponsors who do this as a complete voluntary act. And we're really proud of the success they had. They had a public performance last Thursday at the Jubilee Theater, so we were really thankful for the opportunity to connect with another community partner to allow us access to that space at a much reduced cost than it typically has, and they just had a lot to celebrate this year. We're really proud of the one that played. We've also been celebrating other UIL events through our regional. We have a group headed to regionals for UIL academics. Our students got 2nd place overall in our district for UIL academic competition at the high school. So many medals. You can see Roy is demonstrating several of those there. Very soon, at the end of this month, they'll be in regionals, and we hope to see some of our teams even advance to the state competition for UIL academics. We have a lot of coaches that help do this. There's a lot of different levels of competition. Carol Merriweather, our college student coordinator, oversees all of the UIL academic teams and the coaches within that. So her leadership is very much valued in that as well. And then we had a really amazing event. It was a 2 afternoon event earlier this month, right at the end of March. Our ESB market, it's our entrepreneurship and small business market. Our business management classes led by Faith Ward, who's our business management teacher, gave students the opportunity to create their own small businesses. It was a class project, and they were given a small amount of seed money to be able to create these different businesses across those classes. And then they advertised to host this market after school 2 afternoons from 3:45 to 4:15. And it was remarkable. We did have to move indoors on day 2 because of rain, but the students generated over $2,000 in sales in 2 afternoons. That's true. Mr. Nason did his likeness. We purchased that likeness and we own Mr. Nason's image and likeness in perpetuity. He didn't realize that he signed that away, but that's now Rapoport property. 13 unique startups that contributed to this. The response was amazing. We had a staff member approach me during this, whose opinion I value very highly, who said, "This is Rapoport. This is what we do." And that meant a lot to me. And I sent that stuff over to Ms. Floyd very soon. I'm going to make sure she heard that as well. The students did incredible work. We even had a taco mascot from a sibling. But anyway, it was incredible. Definitely an event.
Very good.
Coach Rice, come on up here. One more time.
You didn't wear your velvet jacket.
I know, yeah.
As we all know, led our team to unprecedented successes with the state championship. He's been honored in many ways. It's starting to get a little old.
No.
I mean, for me, every morning I wake up with another text from Coach Rice about another award that he won. Let's look at these. He was named Region 2 District 12 Coach of the Year. He was named the Super Syntax Coach of the Year, and he was named UIL 2A Division 1 Coach of the Year by the Texas Association of Basketball Coaches. These are not small awards. These are incredible honors that Coach Rice has been recognized in our Central Texas area, within our region, and then across our entire state. I can tell you without a doubt that Coach Rice makes sure that we win basketball games, but he does way more than make sure that we win basketball games. He makes sure that we raise up young people to step out into our world ready to be amazing citizens, amazing representations of who we are. The hours that this man spends with our young people to make sure that they are prepared for college, career, and life, and that they exhibit our core values, it's countless. And so we're grateful for his hard work. And thank you, Coach Rice. We want to honor you for the last time. It's important to see you in 5 days. Very good.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm grateful to work on. We have one more celebration that's not on the screen. Our apologies. It got a little missed in some of our previous celebrations, and so she loves attention every day. So I'm going to welcome Angie Cotton up here. She was celebrated in our earlier slide. No, we're not joking. She was celebrated in our earlier slide because she was the district every grade every day award winner. But the reason Ms. Cotton won that award is because a big monumental thing happened at Rapoport in late February, and then in March we kind of rushed through and needed to get to celebrate Coach Rice some more. And so we didn't do celebrations, but we're celebrating Ms. Cotton and the work that she does because our district was our system for the teacher incentive allotment was approved by the Texas Education Agency. We should all applaud right there. Set aside to incentivize highly effective teachers who do incredible work. You get more money for working in really challenging places with students who have a lot of needs, and we happen to be one of those. Angie leads that effort for us as a district. It's been a lot of work to make sure that we earned that system approval. And now we get to move through and actually see the rewards of that. 1.5 years of work without finding out whether you actually accomplished the goal is hard. Angie never gave up and made sure that we accomplished that. We've got to celebrate that thanks to her, but also thanks to the things that it's going to allow us to do as a district.
Yeah.
So
I will say too, I know that Angie
Ready.
Angie often, I think, feels like the gatekeeper because she's having to do compliance for STAR and state assessment. She's having to do compliance when it comes to TIA. And I will say the compliance part of it is hard, but she is so great at it. And if not for the tireless work that she does to make sure that we are in compliance for all of those things, these things would not be possible. And so thank you for even your tireless work on the mundane compliance ridiculousness.
Yeah.
Because that is the work that gets us to where we are, being able to give teachers this extra money. So thank you.
Maybe even earn more because of the students we serve. So it is already immediately making on
Great.
the way that we're employing the best teachers.
Okay, good.
All right.
Let's take pictures. Don't stay where you are. Everybody else come over here. Lord.
Yeah. So they're not like. You should chip my school. No, I mean, like, right. 1, 2, 3, one more, 1, 2. Yay!
Okay, let's go on. There's several expenditure requests on the consent agenda, so, I'm guessing that,
I do know that item 6.4 does have to be removed. for
Yeah,
further discussion.
yeah.
Item 6.4, that's the rings.
Yeah.
It does need to be removed for further discussion.
Otherwise, we'll entertain a motion, or if anybody wants to pull an additional item.
I know you guys had all of this information ahead of time, but I would hope that you guys recognize on item 4, on the enrollment report, I added on the lottery numbers. And there are 383 applications for next year, including 89 at pre-K. For 54 spots. Now, they may not all qualify or whatever, but I would hope that that jumped out to you as you were looking through that information. Otherwise, no one else has requested any other items prior to the meeting today.
I will move to approve the consent agenda absent item 4.
So,
All right, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. So now we will, you'll have the opportunity to ask questions. I can tell you, you're gonna.
Yeah, I can do a little quick, President. So in your drive and in your documents, I listed a folder. I listed a folder for rings in the expenditures. On that, I gave you both the pictures from the different, kind of bids, for the rings, and then I gave you a summary that had the cost analysis. You did hear in public comment from our head coach, who he and his team are the ones that have earned the right to have these rings and to wear these rings around. There is a dramatic preference for the first option. Yes, it is more expensive. The board has the ability to approve best value, which does include quality of finishes and selections. You'll notice in several of the other options, there's not the opportunity for the actual UIL trophy on the side. So this vendor is a preferred vendor from UIL, so we can put that trophy on the side. You will notice there's a few little things like the diamonds around the side and the green stones on top. Those two are the difference between 7 and 5,200. Now, that being said, there is a dramatic preference for the 7 over the 5,200, not just because of the little stones on the side, but because it moves the green stones on the top to basically an epoxy fill. So kind of like almost like a plastic type fill that would go in that green R. So if for some reason we absolutely had to do it, there was no other way, then fine. But there's a strong preference from the team to be able to do that. So my ask from you guys today on that expenditure request is actually to say, allow us to continue to fundraise. Hopefully we will get the check back from UIL. It will cover the rest of the cost of the ring versus whatever we fundraise at the point when we need to make that expenditure. The goal is to have the rings in, complete, or ordered in and complete before the first home game in the new facility, and that's when the ring ceremony would be provided. They do have a lengthy lead time, so we don't have a long time. But we would like for them to be able to continue to fundraise. Obviously, Coach Rice would like the board to be able to say, raise everything you can. And if there's a difference after UIL gives a check for whatever we get from the ticket sales, then we will make sure that the boys get what they're due. Again, his preference would be the stones on the side and the stones on the top as opposed to the kind of plastic inlay on the top. If you'll notice the difference between the other sets of rings, so there is differences in the side versus the full customization of the side. There's differences in the engraving up underneath it that has the record for the playoffs up on the inside. Not to mention the weight and quality of the actual metal that's used for the rings is different from the other providers to this provider. Yes.
So if we look at it from the perspective of continue to fundraise all the way to the end, the brick fundraiser could cover the difference. When the check comes in from UIL, since we were allotting that for teacher incentives like gift cards and stuff that Mr. Nason presented in his presentation last meeting, could it reimburse that?
I think we could say that we could use basically locally non-restricted funds, which would be fundraised funds
Okay.
from whatever fundraiser it could be. I know that they have worked really hard and shared the word of the Cheddar Up, which is the 2388 that we've gotten so far. It's been reopened. SJ and Coach Rice put together a flyer so we can go back out and do some more asks and try to cover that. Brian actually has already contacted the UIL and said, hey, like, do we know how much we're gonna get or when is that gonna come in? They can't give us a ballpark yet. I know for like major state football games, they got $20,000 to $30,000. This was not a major state football game, right? But some of the gate sales will come back to the school. I think that money would be a very logical expense for this.
Was that reimbursement for just the championship game or all of the games during the?
I don't know how they
You
do
know?
those
Oh,
final
okay.
totals. No, I just know at the end of it, the winning the winning team and the runner up both get some version of it. But
Got it.
I think it's gate sales at the Alamo Dome.
Oh.
Yeah, at the Alamo Dome.
Got it. Okay. Oh,
So it was a 2-game session, so all 4 teams will get a separate game.
okay. Okay.
Is the difference 383 to 388 for the stones?
The stone's on the side and the stone on the top.
The 388 is.
That's the preference. The preference is the 388 per ring. There's a total of 18 rings. The 388 doesn't include it. Anyway, so there's a total of 18 rings. It does include a banner. It includes the lighted boxes. It includes a resin for the trophy case. They're coming to size all of the kids. And again, preferred vendor with the actual UIL trophy on the side. So it is the best of the best. Weight, feel, finish, and finishes is the best of the best. Again, Coach Rice has said, we want to keep fundraising. But what we don't want to do is tell these boys who worked really hard to get all this, here's your kind of cracker box ring, right? We'd really like to be able to say, here's this. And again, fundraise everything that we can in order to get that all the way up until the day we have to order it.
What is the deadline?
So it depends on the final finishes, how long the deadline is. So somewhere between 4 to 5 months. So we may have, that's one of the reasons why I'm bringing it to you now, is I don't know that we would have time to go all the way to the May board meeting and not have at least put in like the security on it. And I can't secure it until I have approval from the board.
So the 7,000 is the total, and then less what's been received is kind of like where we're at, the difference.
Yeah, 7,000 is the total. 2388 has already been fundraised. We know there's going to be additional money from UIL. So it's going to be the difference of either nothing, if UIL gives us enough to cover the rest of it, or whatever the difference is between the 2388 plus whatever UIL gives and the difference for that. Brian, do you have any ballpark for what we might be looking at from UIL? Yeah, I didn't think so. They haven't even.
This year, right?
Because they doubled the teams, so it would have, or less or more. Not to mention we're a small division, less people.
Well, there's.
How much were ticket prices?
25. And we took a whole bus load our side.
Yeah.
Whatever the difference is, where would we?
It would be up to the board for where we pull it from. So it either come from operations or it come from local funds, if that's what the board said, which would be any sort of like door proceeds for the new gym, right? Like if we have like volleyball games that would happen during this fiscal year or basketball games for next year, we could reimburse ourselves from the door proceeds. Those are local funds. Fundraising would be local funds, like any of those sort of things, the board could say, hey, Newman, you have to be able to allocate local funds, or fundraise everything you can, lock it in, and come back to us if there is a gap and talk to us about where that money's gonna come from. We could do that as well.
I can just speak from past experience being a coach. We went through this process twice. And that is very reasonable. I mean, very reasonable.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
And I
state
think-
championship ring that I had in 2000 cost $400 something, and that was back in 2000. This was a very reasonable deal. And this, you know, it's counterintuitive for me because I'm always the one, we need to cut your budget. But this is a state championship. If we can find some way to cover it, I think they're very deserving. It is a common practice that teams get this, that it's paid for out of the school.
And a lot of times there's an athletic booster that raises the money to cover the rings. Some schools, the families have had to pay for it. We don't have an athletic booster yet, although Brian's working on one. And we are not going to ask our kids or families to cover any of the costs for that. And so that's really where it comes from. So my ask of you, I think it's echoed by Coach Rice's, is let us go ahead and secure in the vendor, continue to fundraise, get that ring that is a dream, the dream ring for the team and the coaches. And then we'll work our little face off to try to make sure we have local funds, revenue, fundraiser to cover the difference between that, and then bring you guys back a report. If there is a gap, then a plan for me on how we're going to cover that gap, whether it is trying to ask to use some of the brick funds or whether it's using door proceeds or whatever it is, just allowing us to come back to you guys with a plan for whatever the gap would be. But that wouldn't slow up us being able to get it done and in time to be able to do the ring ceremony at the first round basketball game.
One small comment. I had an outside non-Rapoport person reach out when she saw the fundraising post, and she reminded me of one important detail. These kids have been on the road for a long time. And like you said, the cost is very affordable. So I say I'm open to making a motion to going ahead and proceed, locking it in with the vendor, continue the fundraising efforts. And then if we need to meet back again about the difference to see where we are with fundraiser, we can do that as well.
Second.
Oh, there you go.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Let me just make sure for the record. So we're locking in with the preferred vendor and the preferred design
Yes.
with any fundraising we can do between now and when we lock it in. And if we don't have enough fundraising to cover, I will come back with a different plan. For you guys.
Guys, with us having the gym as well, we will have a lot of income for you know, like all of these things. Yeah, so next year I will have 20-something games at home, and I promise you, it will be a lot of people in there. So we will have the funds. I promise. I'm gonna put the word out. Well, I already got the word out. Everybody's gonna be in the gym, and we're gonna have the funds. So don't panic. I promise. I am a man of my word. Right. I was gonna get a state championship.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah, so they actually build a resin one for the trophy case. So everybody and all the players get the little lighted box, so it shines on their ring. And then he's gonna do a banner, like a big, like celebration.
our parent representative is not here tonight. Do we have any names for who might, I mean, how's that, recruiting process going?
We've done the first announcement, we've done the reminder, SJ did kind of a blast out again. I've got 3 people who have asked some questions and said they might be interested.
What campus?
It is secondary, so it flip-flops. So our faculty rep has been secondary, so it will now be elementary for 2 years. And then the parent rep flip-flops opposite of wherever the faculty rep is. So it'll be middle or high. And then the next year, it switches to whichever one wasn't represented this next year. For parent rep. So
Okay.
I feel very confident that we will have one in place by the summer. So that I had several people that have asked and shown interest. One of them has been a parent rep before.
Great.
Which was exciting, and has a recommendation for someone else as well. If she can't be it again, she has a recommendation for someone else. So I thought that was really neat.
Faculty rep.
Believe it or not, as my voice falters, I don't have anything. The only thing that I would like to kind of bring to your attention is last month, we had a bunch of stuff we went over, and we're still digesting that. I would urge us to start acting on some of that if possible, to move forward towards the end. Anything that we can do would be a positive sign, I think, of the faculty and staff. Secondly, the history wall is progressing. Coach Rice and I talked today about maybe a couple of changes. So Coach Rice, I'll keep working with you on that, and we'll get that done. But it's really good. We're working with a local wrapping company. We're in the process of designing it. By the next board meeting, we should have a layout for you. We actually do have a rough layout. It looks really, really nice. Ms. Pate and a couple others, I might send this stuff to you if you need it. But it's gone very, very well. And the best thing about it is it's student driven. And it's been a difficult process. I just reached out today to the rest of the teachers and staff. The only thing we're really missing, if you have it or can find it, is we're missing pictures from like the beginning of Rapoport when it was over in another building and it moved. We really have a gap where there's very few pictures available. We'd like to find some of those because part of that is the rise of Rapoport, and then we do Rapoport today. We're working with a local muralist that said they would do a free at one end where it's the spirit of East Waco that'll tie into it. The writing is done, the captions are done, the photos are ready. So we're putting it all together. It'll probably be River Ward that comes and presents at the next meeting. She was actually sort of ready today, but I didn't know how long the deal was, and I didn't want to take up more time. So that'll be ready, and no. And we're moving forward at a really, really good rate. And the kids have done really, really well. So I'm proud of what they've done. I think you'll be shocked at what they've done. It's not shocked. That's cool. That's something you didn't think they do anything good, but amazed at what they did. But they've worked very diligently, so I'm proud of their efforts. So.
I know they reached out for some conversation with Dr. Tracy. She also has a stack of pictures that they might have to digitize, but
She does?
yes.
Yeah,
she
we
would have-
sent emails out hither and yon.
Okay.
Here and yon and everywhere else. Yes, ma'am.
On that, if those pictures were ever on the website, like the website's gone through different designs over the years, there is a site you can use called Wayback, and it crawls the internet since the beginning of time. And it will show you images from like even 2005, 2009, from what the website looked like, and if it had any images on there, you can.
Yeah, the ones that we're missing are like when it used to be one building. And from there to that period where they switched, we have a lot after that. Ms. Whitmark's actually provided multiple pictures. All of them have her in it in some way. We're going to edit that out. That's ridiculous, but no. But
You're gonna try to find.
But we're trying to locate it, and that's really the only place that we need pictures to fill in. So it's working well.
Okay, thank you so much for your work on that, and let's make a note, we want to present that at the May meeting, right?
Yes, you have a question.
So regarding last month's report, what progress has been made? We talked about like, us not being kind of the directors of that progress. So
I know that after we met, I got to meet with Dr. Ellis, Ms. Whitmark, and Dr. Newman, and we had a really good heartfelt talk. They're working on stuff, and I know that they've started to take some steps towards getting some stuff together.
Yeah, I mean, I think to be specific, back to that, so we went through there were some clarification questions we had, like what exactly did you mean by this? What was exactly meant by that? Then what we are doing is taking all those things. There were several things that were brought up that we already have in the works. And so we're gonna go through and say, okay, this is already in the works, this is what it looks like. This is something that we would need help, because in order to do some of those things, we'd have to reprioritize. And we can't reprioritize like state initiatives. And so these are things that we would need other people to step in and help get done. Because again, I think that's one of the things that Mason clarified for us, is the feedback is that these things would be great to be done in our community, not necessarily the way it felt initially was, these are things that Jennifer and Tyler and Alexis need to do. But yet these are things that our community could benefit from. And so some of it is, what are things that would be awesome if somebody could step in and help do rework a faculty lounge, for instance, right? Like make it prettier or whatever else, right? That is not something that necessarily I'm gonna say, Tyler, stopping principal and go buy a couch, right? But hey, if somebody wants to take this on, like, more power to it. So we're looking at those. And then if there's anything that we just felt like, whoa, that's a big lift, or, oh, that's just not something we can do, we're also walking through that. So that's what Tyler, Jennifer, and I are working on. And you'll see some of those reflected as you look through the budget. You'll see some of that feedback reflected even as we talked about what some of those expenses were, the differences in salaries and things like that. So some of it's reflected already in the conversation. But that was the first part, was trying to go through all of the things and say, already in the works, great ideas, let's get them work, great ideas, who can help? And then maybe why it can't be done right now, but not to let it leave the table, just for conversation.
And it's, in fairness, I know that like in our campus already, excuse me, there's already been some change for the better in communication. For instance, when an administrator's gone, there's a lot clearer information sent out about who to turn to. And so it's been very helpful. So that part is already seen some improvement.
We really rely on you then to kind of keep us updated as you go through
And really right now, when we had that meeting, it was positive. We went through a lot of different things and talked about a lot of different approaches. Kind of like during the presentation, what was brought out, that's why we had things that were smaller that could be done, incremental that could be done, in a wish list item, the Sears Robux wish list catalog from my youth. But there was definitely progress, and I know that they're working right now to address some of the issues, even like with processes and procedures and policies. We're working through things like that. That's what
just want to make sure we honor all that work.
Yes.
Yeah, we are striving to do that as we speak.
Thank you, Neil, for asking.
Yeah.
that.
Well, and the follow-up from that is that
Yeah.
those conversations would come back here for an update to the board. It takes a little bit of work to get it ready, but those conversations would come back here so that you guys aren't just depending on, because he rolls off in 2 months. You're not just depending on him to try to come back, but that we are now taking, this is the feedback, and this is what comes back to the board is kind of an update to you guys.
When the next teacher rep comes on, is this information going to not get left in history?
I'll be sure to meet with.
Okay.
That way it
Yeah,
continues, like it can become a permanent part of the agenda.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask, if there's a way to have this on a permanent item on the agenda.
Well,
Can we add this
Yeah.
for the time being, like a, either monthly or quarterly item?
Yeah, or something, yeah, it doesn't have to be monthly, but, or yeah, just some sort of standing. Yeah,
I don't know if people have them actually every month,
Yeah.
but.
yeah, quarterly, I think, yeah.
Okay, let's move on. Finance committee, we met and the scholarship is available. Historically, admin selects the scholarship candidates. So I think our involvement is done unless they know that they can reach out to us. And the rest of what we talked about, salary for staff, that's a later agenda item that we'll talk about. So I'm going to kick that down the agenda. District improvement.
We met, and a lot of what we talked about was going through the data that was included on the summary, including attendance data, behavior data, benchmark testing data. And I think we talked about kind of why all those things are interrelated and where we're having some successes in areas that obviously we're working on that are a little bit outside of that, which is like staffing and retention, that are going to enable us to be successful in some of those test score areas where there've been long-term subs, or there's been sort of lack of consistency. But I think the highlight from all of that data should be, if you look through it closely, the attendance data is very strong. To be as close as we are as a district to pre-COVID levels is pretty incredible. And so good things are happening there. And I think from the behavior reports, we're seeing some good things there in terms of reporting and also use of the tiered intervention system. So.
Thank you. Facilities. Woo. Get my bonnet bucket out. So, we had kind of like a pop-in type of pocket meeting. We met on campus, toured the facilities, really, really nice in there. I'm so excited how it's coming along. We were able to have Commissioner Precinct 2 come on site and visit with the basketball team and tour the campus and the gym. So that was really cool. The fundraiser is cutting off this Friday. So if you have any reach outs that you need to complete, it'd be really wonderful if you did that. We've raised just around $4,000. So if it's needed for certain jewelry items, we can discuss that. On a full facilities note, Llewellyn has expressed a few staff members to me. I know about the security incident that happened a few months back that made the paper. There's now, some covering around the fence. As a parent, I thought that was amazing. As a staff member, they don't like it. They can't see. So if things are happening outside the fence, they don't know. So recently I was picking up my child and there was heavy police in the area and they were scoping out something, but the staff didn't know to be able to bring the kids in because a parent had to report. So they've asked if there's a way for those to come down a few inches, so at least from the staff level's height, they can see through the fencing. So I don't know if John could manage that as the buildings director or.
So we can look at, so once you put it up, there's like best practices from the school safety center of what coverage looks like.
Okay.
And so that was part of the whole discussion when we talked about whether we were putting it up or not, is putting it up would have kept that incident from happening because they saw each other across the yards.
Right.
And that's what it is. But putting it up also means we limit our view out.
Right.
And so it was kind of a balance of, do we limit our view out or their view in? And the best practices are, if you're gonna cover the chain link, that you cover like a scalable or the entirety of the fence.
Okay.
And so that's where we ended up with the height and where it is on the fence to cover from power. So, I mean, if the board directs me to go back and redo that and pull those down and order up new ones, that we can't just drop it down because then it creates flapping issues and all that stuff, or the mowing issues at the bottom. So.
Maybe if you want to just look at some other options to address that concern while not messing with the fence.
Yeah, I mean.
There's something else, like a security camera that has a feed to the front office or.
Yes, we have cameras that are on the back of the buildings. I think the situation you were talking about, it was just outside and normally we would have been able to see all the way out. But because of where we are, the people in the backyard are lower than the top of the edge of the fence. You can't see it all out. It does, but when you transition from I can see everything, which caused a problem, to I can't see out as well. So it's kind of a give and take. So I understand.
Yeah, no, I just, not a complaint from me. It's just, I didn't know that about,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And then the last thing, I think maybe Dr. Newman, if you can shed some light on the R and the filler. John tried to explain some things that were needed to go and fill in. And so we can push order on all of the customized bricks.
It's all good. I
Okay.
think we got a resolution today.
Okay, you want to
so
maybe
we can
email
talk
me
sure.
later?
Yep, I can. So, to answer your question, so in the paper area where the bricks are gonna go, we've got an R that's provided by the company. And then we're gonna have named papers that people put in on the inside. Well, they sent just the R with no like filler bricks. And we have it sold enough to fill all the rest of it with name bricks. And so what we ended up being able to do is work through our landscapers that are doing the actual job. And they're gonna come in, they've already got a bunch of bricks that they can get that coordinate well with the building. They're gonna look very nice. And they're gonna come in and install the R and then their filler bricks. And then when we get the real bricks, we'll be able to just pop those out and put in the new ones. And so it'll be very seamless. It's already provided by them. They're gonna be able to come put it in. It's not gonna be without any cost, but they're basically gonna give it to us for cost, or they're even talking about in exchange for their own brick,
Yes.
potentially letting us use those. And then when we pull them out, we will give them back to them so they can reuse them on other jobs. So we're working through what that would look like, but they were very receptive and they've been very responsive. We just got that message today.
Okay. I lied, I apologize, because that reminded me about the ordering. When we approved this fundraiser, we said that we would do this in phases. And with the timing of this starting, because it was Thanksgiving and then Christmas and then the New Year's, it just didn't align very well. We discussed continuing this as long as we want it to go on. Do you guys want to close it out at phase one or leave it as an ongoing effort as a fundraiser for the district until you say otherwise?
I want to continue going. I've been able to look at, the correspondence back and forth, and I love that we have a solution that doesn't add a lot to the budget. But when we talk about being able to do things for our athletics as well, I appreciate your idea about being able to make some of those proceeds. I think it helps with some of the unexpected expenses we're talking about and just being able to pull it from that fundraiser.
I think once people see it,
I would say you do it till it's full.
Yeah.
once people see it, they see what it looks like, now it's just a picture of what's out, and it's like, yeah, that's pretty cool.
Mhm.
So,
And it's not to take away from where we were also targeting, looking at the teacher incentives or anything like that, because that can be an ongoing effort. And plus the news that was shared earlier about the TIA being approved, that's really, really good timing as well.
Yeah.
So, okay, that's all I have.
Thank you, facilities, all that hard work. SHAC update, is SJ available?
We have it by video. So, the SHAC update and the special populations are both going to be provided by video. So, we go to this.
I'll be open to doing this.
Yay, yay, SJ. She's not here. She had to step out, but yay.
Hey, I made a mistake and I jumped a few spaces on the agenda, so we're gonna do special population.
We are right after. Hopefully we take some action item on this one.
Oh,
So,
we have to approve it.
Yeah, this one is, so the wellness policy is part of the student health advisory. So the wellness policy, triennial assessment and the policy itself was provided in your drive. She referenced it in her video as well. So if somebody were to happen to feel like it, to make a motion for acceptance and approval of the wellness policy and the triennial assessment would be amazing.
I make a motion to approve the wellness policy and the triannual assessment.
Thank you very much. That was who beat? You didn't know? Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank
My
you.
apologies. I promise I just can't do signatures and. It's
okay. So Special Pops is another brief video. This is from Christina Fuller, our Director of Special Populations. So as you guys remember, a little over a year ago, we said, hey, we'd really like to hear. You guys said you'd like to hear from people across the district. So this is kind of a Special Pops update from across the district. Oh, I have to hit the. Oh, that what? Is it? Not going. Play. And play. Okay, it's not playing. I hit play 3 times. You're not funny. It may have sat too long. There you go. Mhm.
Yay.
Motion.
Yeah. Yeah, no action has to be taken on that one.
Comment?
Mm-hmm.
Something that stood out about chronic absence. And there was a comparison, district, state, and then, just for Rapoport.
Mm-hmm.
Kids love coming to school.
Mm-hmm.
Retention is very good, and so when I saw those numbers, I wanted to commend all of that and everything. You're creating an environment for students.
Mm-hmm. We would like for them to want to come as much as they did pre-COVID. But did any other number jump out for you in Ms. Fuller's presentation?
Reading levels, yeah.
Reading levels, the star, yeah, the growth for that. I know Tyler gave me an eyebrow. Yeah, what about a third?
Said, 1 out of every 3 students are serviced in one of these special populations.
A third of our students have some label or something that means they need extra than just the regular population of students across the state of Texas. So not only are we talking about, so that doesn't include economically disadvantaged, right? And the things that come with that. They have a learning disability, an attention disability, a reading disability. Sometimes it's a significant health impairment, but like a third of our students have more than just economics that impact them at home or outside. So when you talk about it's hard to serve sometimes, this is the work that we do, is we take kids from all backgrounds. A third of our kids have additional baggage that they bring with them to school. So I'm glad that jumped out to some of you guys because it's significant. And it is, we have more students come. I think Jennifer and Tyler, you guys can kind of nod one way or the other, but it seems like after we get through the lottery, after that point, most students that come to us come with dramatic intervention needs, academic needs, testing needs, health impairment needs, like dramatic needs, especially once the school year starts. And we're seeing that trend, I think, increasing even more from where it has been before. So.
State average is 15%.
Mm-hmm. 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 And not very many of those are ones that we test and diagnose ourselves. A lot of those students, especially now, are coming to us already with the paperwork for that. Yep. So, okay. Facilities and school updates, if that's all right.
So we don't need to vote on.
There's no action item. That's just a report. Yeah. The other one was because the wellness plan has to be approved. So, okay. So a couple of things on facility/safety updates. Oh yeah. No, she did. And I said, we don't need one. Mm-mm. No, so the special populations is just a report. It's a invited report that the board has said, hey, we'd like to hear from different departments. So facilities, school safety updates. So a couple of things. One, you're going to see a job posting come up. So we do have the director of facilities position is going to be opening. So that will be coming open. It won't be open for a little while, but we're going to post it. So you'll see that posted up the next day or two. Other than that, we've got lots of things that are moving right now. So we have a 3-year audit that you guys did the approval for. So Region 12 is going to help us get that done. That has to be done. The first part of it has to be done when students are still here. The second part of it is done in June. So that the whole thing is done and completed and back to TEA by the end of the summer. That is a large undertaking. Lots of documentation submitted. There's over close to about 300 different documents we have to submit for TEA to review to go through that audit process. So that's kind of, we're in full swing of that. We've been continuing to do the door audits. TEA through Region 12 has been to all of our campuses now, and we've passed all of those with flying colors. We also are moving forward on the continued guardian training. It's gone really well this year. And we'd like to expand that. So we're trying to get other people to jump on board with that. We haven't had a lot of people that have said, yes, we want to jump on board, but those we have, it's actually gone really well for those guardians that we have in the district. We also are adding a medical response to that one. So there'll be trained armed guardians. But then we're also going to do some medical first responding. That's a training that we're going to help put together that'll be here in town. So we don't have to pay for out of town travel. But it will be for once the threat has been neutralized, and handled, then more than likely, we are still going to be waiting on emergency responders to get here. So we will then have trained staff to be able to come in and help with crisis care. Just acknowledging triage, kind of stabilizing until the actual first responders can get in and start responding for that one. So we're really excited about being able to add that additional layer to that. We also are meeting, District Safety Committee is meeting, and the campus safety committees are meeting periodically just to kind of walk through things and see what stuff looks like and check and make sure that our facilities are safe. Then on the facility, so that safety side of things, on the facility side of things, you guys can see over there the job trailer is down. The red fence is moved on this side over there for the gym. So you can see the whole front of the gym now. They're working on the ADA parking that'll be on this side. There's already ADA parking on the other side, like on the Demarius side. So there'll be more parking here at the ramp. We walked through it today and doors are on offices. Finishing painting is happening. They're putting in like cove faces around the bottom. So they're still doing some last minute things. Certificate of occupancy, we're only waiting on, we had a letter back from the city today. And then the elevator company actually got a delay on some parts. And so that's going to be pushed to the first part of next week. So we should get our certificate of occupancy on construction the first part of next week, which means we can start doing the owner supplied items, which include the history wall, the chandelier, the bleachers, the flooring, the basketball goals, and the LED system for the scoreboards. And so all that stuff starts getting delivered on the 21st. So it'll be delivered, piled in, stacked up, and there's a whole order of installation that'll happen moving forward from that. So right now, those are all scheduled one right on top of the other, and they're all communicating with each other as well as with Masonic, who's going to continue to kind of orchestrate until it is complete all the way around. So they're going to still help us navigate what all that looks like to get all the owner supplied items in. But right now, everything looks to be on track for a mid-June, all in and done. And then we will be able to move personal items in, like stuff for offices and that sort of stuff should be able to happen from that one. So really excited about that. It is looking really sharp. It's a really cool space and it has anything you can think of. Again, if you haven't had a chance to walk through it and you want to walk through it, you just have to show up and walk through it now. So now there's no overhead stuff. So you don't even have to have a hard hat when you walk in. So you can just kind of show up and just ask for, hey, who's the head here? And they'll check in with you and you can go walk through that space. But it's looking really, really cool. The other thing that John is working on right now is summer projects and a summer project review. So walking through the buildings, looking at what stuff needs to be touched up, what painting stuff needs to happen, trim pieces that maybe are falling down or need repairs, just kind of walking through. And so he is going to be putting out an all call for work tickets. So what do you see in your space? Please send a ticket in so that we can start really kind of tracking that stuff for what summer projects look like. We have staff from the food services department that have said, hey, we would love to work over the summer here at school. So what other projects do we have that we can help with? And so there's going to be lots of painting and touch up and clean up and organizing and that sort of stuff that'll happen over the summer. And so we're working on kind of putting together what those summer projects would look like and being able to kind of plan and track those out for the summer. A lot of the first part is going to be really focused on shifting and moving with the gym stuff. And then June, July, moving into the rest of the district for what does that look like in the district in and around summer school and when and where we have kids with summer testing and things like that. So lots of things going on, lots of moving parts, but really excited about the gym and getting that facility moving forward. And again, on time. The 18th was the date that Masonic always had for final CO. And it looks like we're going to be probably the 22nd maybe, or the 23rd, which considering Easter weekend, right? That's not too bad off in the whole scope of the thing. So we're really excited about what that looks like. So I have a tentative date pocketed in that we've had pocketed for a little while. I think until we get some of those big owner supplied items in, the floor, the bleachers, I don't really want to roll that out yet, just because if those are delayed 3 weeks, it pushes everything back a lot. Because if those don't happen in the lockstep, then all these other people can't do anything. And so the issue that we have is all these other people are really excited about doing our project because it's happening before school is out, before they get booked on these large schools, right? So they're able to slide all of our stuff in here because we're not part of these major school district things that are always happening in the summer. So as long as everything goes well, yeah, we're hoping for like the first part of mid-June. So in that June timeframe, before July 4th is what we're hoping for. Okay, so yes. So we'll do that here and then we'll cordon off and everybody will talk and make sure. We will have a date set by this meeting in May. So by May, at this meeting, we will be able to come here as a group and set the date and then kind of cordon off to make sure that we make it all the things that it should be.
One of the things that was brought up in that last meeting was about the facilities as a whole. Is there going to be, and you don't even not this far out, but is there going to be, do you think there's a possibility of creating like a 3 or 4 year plan of going through and repainting these facilities and laying that out so that teachers have a vision of, and staff members have a vision of we're going to refurbish or repaint these buildings on a 3 year, 5 year, whatever it is? Is that a possibility?
So a facility strategic plan is something that will be a part of what the board is working on coming forward. So that's I'm actually meeting Thursday. We did our previous strategic plan through Region 12. So the thought is they walked us through Lone Star Governance strategic plan and board training. Maybe they could put all those into one and we could walk through that during the fall, spring. We just did the academic strategic plan. So the thought is that the board could then identify maybe 2 more prongs of strategic planning work, and we could create kind of a 3-prong full strategic plan. Because our current strategic plan is out on the 26th. I mean, at 2026, which is a year from now. So we have to start strategic planning the process again in the fall, so that by the time we get to spring, we've got an updated plan ready to go. So yes, I think that should definitely be part of facilities planning. Whether it's rotation, whether it's ACs, whatever it looks like, to be able to move through kind of what that looks like.
Reach all that up, but at least it's a vision of, hey, we got you, we understand.
Yeah. And most common places are painted less than every 5 years. They pull everything down, the custodians pull it down and put it back up, just depending on wear and tear, but it's not like a preset. It's this needs it. Let me go through and paint it.
And I know we haven't even started the invitation list, but it brought me up, one of the things that we did in our research, one of the things that we found was the importance of when people came over from Waco Village to the East Waco with the advent of the bridge and stuff like that, the importance of the churches in this area. I would really love to see us reach out to some of the churches, particularly these churches that are steeped in tradition in this area. Try to reach out and invite those members and those pastors to come as well, because that's an integral part of this community.
Love it.
Yeah, I would also like to say, it would be good to see a facility improvement plan, to have that on hand and reference as a living document. Yes. I like that.
Several years ago, we created a facilities maintenance plan, which was really how old are the AC equipments and when was stuff replaced and where is it located and what is a safety design? Meaning, do we know where everything even is right in the district? And so we put all that together, but that's different than a cosmetic, right? That is a mechanical thing that's different than cosmetic, but absolutely. I think that'd be great. Yeah, I think that'd be great. Okay.
We will jump down to item 4.2. Updated bank signatories.
So that was in the drive. We just need official. When we updated it before, they didn't like the form that we used. So we have to redo it. Katrina can jump in, but it's in your drive. So we just need a motion and approval for what's in the drive.
Make a motion to approve the updated bank signatories.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 4.3, instructional materials.
So item 4, 3, 1, and 2, both kind of go together. Angie Cotton's actually here. She can answer questions as well. And this is something we have to do every year. So you have to look at the materials You have to approve them, certify that the TEKs are covered so that we can get state funding for those materials. So that is what you have in front of you. We can answer any questions you want about any of those materials. I know that there is an update so let me back up. Let me give you a brief update about Bluebonnet, the Religious Text Committee. And so we've already approved that curriculum. We've already moved forward with that. The state has already said, you know, it meets all the TEKS requirements and all that sort of stuff. So Jennifer actually led a Religious Text Committee work, and they did an uncanny amount of work. They have gone through every lesson. They have looked at the topics. They have looked at the sub-pieces for that. They have looked at how many lessons we're expected to be able to actually carry out next year, right? The number of days of school that we're going to have those. They've looked at how many of those lessons are referencing any religious text, not just a Christian religious text of the Bible, but any religious text. They looked at which categories they felt like were referencing it according to a historical or a history reference versus more of like a sermon or an evangelical kind of reference. They looked to see which of those that do reference any religious text, is it something that is circular, meaning it comes back again and again and again. They've looked to see if it's something that we can just take out. Like, this is not historically referenced, like it doesn't circulate, it's not circular in its importance, and like we could just do without of it. And so when it came all the way down to it, Jennifer, do you happen to have that percentage handy? Okay. So I have right in front of her. So of all the lessons, there's how many lessons in the Bluebonnet curriculum that we're talking about putting in place?
It's about 10 lessons out of 824, which was 1% of the curriculum, based on teacher feedback, or lessons that didn't seem to.
Not historical reference,
or
not necessary, not whatever. Yep. So 10 lessons out of all the days of school, out of all the grades that are looking at putting it in. And anything that is left in there is, it either references at a historical document, and again, whatever religious text it is, references that as a historical document, or does a comparison of documents, or whatever that would look like. So 10 lessons were kind of like, no. And we were able to take those out without any impact to the integrity of the content of the curriculum, and feeling very comfortable with what we have left in place for that one. So in the materials, you'll see Bluebonnet referenced into that, and that is with the understanding. Now, that being said, also, we also had to take out some lessons because we don't have as many days as there are lessons anyway. So I think only in one grade level are there other lessons that we're going to have to, like, they just counted as the lessons that we were going to have to take out anyway, right? Like, we're going to have to take out 5 lessons. Oh, look, here's 2. Let's go ahead and take those out. So I think everything else was covered within those. Again, what's left in there is a historical reference, not a proselytizing evangelical kind of reference, or actually, really, no, those are the only ones that were left in, is when it was seen as like a historical text or historical reference, not when it was referenced as more of like a religious preaching kind of a text. So anyway, the other information was provided in the spreadsheet to you. 2 separate motion items for those. So one is instructional materials, which is that whole list of things. The other one is the certification of the provisional instructional materials survey. And Angie's here for lots of questions. Sorry. If y'all have any questions, Angie can answer questions about the document.
That have to be carved out in your calendar window, or 800 to choose from for your curriculum?
So over all of the grades, there were 820 and change lessons available for all of the grades that are implementing Bluebonnet curriculum. So of the 820 some odd lessons, 10 we felt like could just go.
You're having to find time to teach all 800 lessons.
It's because it's multiple grades.
That's right.
So like
Yes.
kindergarten.
Oh.
So you gotta
Yeah.
divide that by 800 by.
Yeah, kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th.
No, like.
That's great. It's still a lot. So out of Yeah. All the details and all that sort of stuff. But I just, since we're approving the curriculum, I thought it would be important for you guys that the Religious Acts Committee has gone through in depth.
It was a lot of work, a lot of time, and I know it's only 10 lessons, but if those are 10 lessons that are gonna make a kid feel uncomfortable or feel
Mhm.
like, yeah, they're not.
Like they don't belong.
Education
Yeah.
that-
Mhm. Well, and again, a safe, equitable, and inclusionary environment is what we want, right? And so we felt like, the committee felt like those 10 lessons don't help us out, right? In creating a place where all children feel like they have a space to belong. So it was easy. Off they go. Not any big deal. We're able to move forward in a very confident way. So
Make a motion that we approve the instructional, is that your first?
either way,
The list of instructional
instructional materials.
materials.
Okay. Okay. All right.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Whitmire, Ms. Cotton, for all your hard work.
Neil, were you going to make a motion on number 1?
What do we do?
He did number 2. Yep. Thank you.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Ready for budget? Yeah. Okay. So the finance committee walked through the budget with Katrina and I in depth. And I need to pull up my budget document. Oh, budget. There it is. Sorry. So what we have provided you here is an overview. I also provided you the subtext documentation, and I do just want to pull up one sheet on the other document. But when you guys put committees in place, Emily reminded us, when you put committees in place, what you said is you want the committees to do all the digging and the working, and then come back and bring you guys highlights and a clear suggestion. So committee did digging and working all the way through lots of pages of documents and numbers and historical data and reference. And so this was kind of the recommendation that came from that committee. Essentially, teachers and everybody on the teacher scale already got an average of a 1.5% raise because we gave them their scale step raise. In the document, the extra document that you guys have access to, you can see where the ranges went. Some of them are above 2%, some of them are below 1%, but you can kind of see where the different step raises fall in line with a percentage raise. Nobody else received any sort of raise at all in their letter. So what that committee said is, okay, we can't do big things yet. When the state comes back with funding, we want to make a public statement tonight that we are going to do big things with funding when the state comes back and funds us. But what we want to do right now is just say, okay, everybody on a teacher scale got an average of 1.5%. The people that don't have any raise currently at all in their letter, let's give them a 1.5%. So it's all kind of essentially even. Everybody gets kind of a 1.5 on the average. Then have these other things sitting on the table so that when we get funding back from the state, anything that we can allocate into the pocket of our staff, that we make a priority allocate that into the pockets of our staff members. Obviously, there's going to be stuff that's restricted. There's going to be facilities funding, or there's going to be safety funding, and there's going to be things like that. We can't allocate those funds, but any money that we can allocate, that the board is going to put a priority to allocating that funds into the hands of our staff. So that's kind of what is here. What I also included in this budget are other things that are already included in that. For instance, bringing the gym online. We know there's going to be inflationary expenses in food service and utilities. We also have done some positional shifting, not like adding whole new big positions, but like this position is vacant. And so instead of having this position, we're going to move it over for this position, like a full-time bus driver, and like a district-wide kind of an entry-level maintenance spot, but like a district-wide for that. And then taking 2 other positions and combining. So anyway, all that is kind of included already in this. The step raises is included in this. And then on this screen, the estimated budget right there does include a 1.5% for people that got nothing yet, and the step raises for teachers. So the 103,000 extra is kind of the cushion after inflation is taken care of, these couple of position reallocations are taken care of, and the 1.5 to make it kind of all even. So that is what's included right there on the right-hand side and kind of recommended by the committee. Now, before we take any action, I do just want to pull up. So this is the document that you guys have. It'll wake up. This is the reference. This is the reference for the percent ranges. You can see in column D. Oh. It's in our budget document. It's in our board meetings. It should be right there. There should be a folder in your April 25 board meeting. Is it not pulling up?
That spreadsheet had a request.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's weird. Okay, I will make sure that you have access to that. That's odd because it's in there. Okay, let me walk through this and then I'll make sure that you have access to it. So column D is where it shows you that average percentage for the step raise. So you can kind of see where that 1.5% came from, an average of 1.5%.
For teachers.
Yeah, that was for anybody on the teacher scale. That's where the comparative came from for the 1.5 for people that have nothing in their letter for next year. So the TAs, custodians, any administrator, food service, like none of those people are on the teacher scale. It's basically instructional coaches. I think deans are on there. No, deans are not. Deans are on that. Nobody got it. It's instructional coaches and teachers. Behavior coaches. That's what I was thinking of. Behavior coaches. You'll see this column F. That's a teacher assistant column. It doesn't exist currently. So if you're looking at that, that's a proposal for down the road if we have funding. Right now, teaching assistants just start at the same starting rate, no matter how many years they have of experience. So that doesn't exist. So right now, column D is the raises for teachers. This is just other information. Those are pay bands, no proposed changes to those. But what I wanted to pull up is those are the comparisons for down the road if we get funded. But these were some of the things that the committee looked at that they want to hold for when we get additional funding. So we went ahead and put them in there. We did not want them to be lost in translation or not be thought about, right, whenever it comes time for added funding coming from the state. So you can see the orange is where how much it cost us for the basically make even on that part of it. But insurance contribution is something people have asked about. Stipends for special education teachers. Some of those positions are really hard to fill. Elementary math and science stipends. 3rd and 4th grade currently don't get it, even though they're math only teachers or science only teachers. A retention stipend. You'll see that the superintendent cabinet looked at all of these and they felt like a retention stipend was the biggest thing that we could possibly do for our staff. So people that were here at the end of this year would get essentially a 13th check of some amount, either in August or in November. Increasing the professional development grant. Adding additional TAs at the elementary to help support teachers and student needs. A recruitment stipend, so new people coming into Rapoport would get kind of a sign-on bonus. A grant writer position, or just raising the base salary by even just $2,000. So that's information for you guys as we move forward. The reality is with only $100,000 on an over $11 million budget, it doesn't give us much room to work with. And we definitely don't want to get down to zero considering we budget really conservatively. So the thought is that we kind of make even, average it out to kind of 1.5%. So step raises plus 1.5%. And then these things are on the table. And we make a public statement that says, when we get money, any money we can allocate, we're going to prioritize to put into the pockets of our staff. It may not be 100% because we are going to have some operational expenses, but we are going to commit to putting majority of that money into the pockets of our staff as soon as we know what we're doing. And that could be as early as Thursday. So the conversation starts on the public school finance bill on the floor on Thursday is when they're thinking. So hopefully that's going to be moving through pretty quickly to the positives for schools. Yes.
You know, funding as often or as few as it comes in. I know you're gonna make the public statement, but will there also be a follow-up? So they know, yes, we're getting money in August. Oh, we have more money in December.
Oh, I would think those would be at the board meetings.
Okay.
as soon as we know what funding is gonna look like and we have an updated school funding, like, it should be here at this meeting. Like, the finance committee should review that and it should come to this meeting. Because then we're gonna have to decide what to do with it. So it needs to be, in my opinion, sorry, that was really a forceful response. It needs to be that transparent where we won't know until it's all approved and then runs through the state calculators. When it runs through the state calculators, Katrina will get an updated, it's called FSP, Federal School Fund, Foundation School Program, sorry, FSP. That will tell us, oh, hey, heads up, you get more money and you get $200,000 in facilities funding, and you get $50,000 in safety money, and you get this much basically in your general revenue. That comes to the board. Then we come back to the budget and we reallocate this. The finance committee reviews it. We give them kind of options. They review it, and then it comes to the board for vote. But yes, at this meeting, as soon as we have that now, I don't think the board should take action on rumors. Like, hey, we think you're going to get $300,000 per kid, right? Like, no, when it's in our foundation school program, when we know we're going to get the funds, then we move forward on that. As soon as we have that, we move forward. So,
This item requires a vote.
yes,
The only thing, Dr. Newman, I'm sorry.
yes,
Is that on the list? And that's a really good list, and a lot of them what we talked about. The other one I know that you can keep in your back of your mind is paying stipends for specific clubs and organizations. Because like, for instance, today we mentioned Miss Ward, Miss Pack, who worked multiple hours, a long, long time. And they would do it anyway. But it would be nice to be able to pay those individuals that work really diligently outside of school of something as a stipend.
great. I added it on there, so we don't lose it.
After school program. There was some discussion on that.
Yeah.
And board meeting request.
Like that.
Free childcare.
Yep, so after school free for staff, great, added. And if there's anything else that you guys think of that you want to make sure we put on here, that we need to allocate, or not allocate, that we need to estimate for costs, I'm happy to add any and all of that on there. The reality is, when it got right down to it, with the things that we know we have to have, inflationary things, adjusting for opening, things like that. And again, all that is in that summary. This is really where we are. This gives everybody, for the most part, there's a little bit less, a little bit more when you look at averages, right? It gives everybody essentially 1.5%. And then we hold, we're not done. We hold until we know what the legislature is going to do.
So if you're not applying the 1.5%, until you get legislature, and then that 1.5.
We are.
Yeah, so one of the things that we know is from previous rounds from the state, well, I say we know, we anticipate the state saying, hey, whatever you've already agreed to give people, that's great. But this percent of the new money has to be allocated towards salaries. So it could be that they come back and say, here's 100,000, 75% of it has to be allocated to new salaries for teachers only. If so, 75,000 has to be allocated new just to teachers, depending on how they restrict funds. But we won't know that until they get done voting and until it passes all the way through and until we get the accounting.
1.5% is not contingent on that. It happens now.
Mhm.
Then they get.
And like I said, people on the teacher salary, they already had that in their letter. We already committed to step raises for them. This 1.5% is just for people that had nothing. Their letter was flat. So now they'll get an adjusted letter that'll be for 1.5%. So everybody in the district will be kind of on an average of 1.5%. And we will hold until we know from the state. That's my suggestion. That's what the committee, after looking at everything, that's kind of what they came back with. When we last changed it, or what this would do for
Well,
that.
but, like, when was the last time that was looked at and then?
So
that-
Katrina, hourly rates, we've changed them every year. I mean, we're up at $15 for a starting hourly rate. Mhm. And so in 7 years, yeah. Yeah, we won't know until next year. Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
How do we make the motion? Do we just-
Yeah, so the approval at this point would be to accept the revenue expense salary budget with changes as provided from the finance committee. And then my suggestion would be that whoever makes the motion also includes a public statement about commitment moving forward, so that that's kind of in one piece, so that the board is all voting on the revenue expense salary budget with the adjustments as provided, and a public statement about investing in our staff with any new money that comes in. So, okay, I will draft it just to make sure it reflects what you want before we put it in the minutes. Okay, so. Okay.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes.
That's also with the public statement, right? Okay, great. Thank you. Okay. Yay.
Presentation of the district update.
Okay, let me open my. Okay. So there was a reference to this in the improvement committee. Okay, so this is some data that the improvement committee had asked to kind of look at. And then it was also referenced in kind of the faculty staff update and concern. And so I thought, you know what, let's just make this as often as we can update this data, I'll put it back onto the board meeting. So probably every quarter, we're just going to continue this document for you guys as we move forward. So there's a few little holes in it yet because it's one of our first times to pull it together, but there's 3 tabs. So there's a behavior tab, there's an attendance tab, and an academics tab. And we're just going to keep these updated and provide them for the board every quarter. So you can just see kind of where we are. So the improvement committee kind of looked through this. And again, there were some trends that we see across on the discipline side, the behavior, the discipline side. You can see some of it is kind of new to tracking. We just started a couple of years ago looking at that. We've got some intervention things that we've seen have made a difference. So we've seen some of these numbers go down, but you can see trends just by student, gender, by grade level. One of the interesting things is we've been doing a lot of work on student engagement. And what the science says, high engagement at elementary, low engagement at middle school, higher engagement when you get back towards high school. What we also see is behavior. It's like mirrored, right? Very low behavior issues in early elementary, more behavior when you get to the middle school, and then less behavior as students start to kind of manage themselves when they get to high school. So you see that reflected here. You also see it reflected over on the academic side as well, right? Flipping over to the attendance, this is one that Dr. Shanks called out. So again, I've got it up here on that second tab. You'll see COVID was 19 and 20. So spring of 20 is when we left and didn't come back. 2021, we were remote and in and out, and some were remote the whole year. And so 2021 was really kind of a wash-ish year. And then we hit 21, 22. We still had closures in 21, 22, just depended on when we needed closures for health or safety purposes. So 22, 23 was the first time that we were kind of back open. So you can see where our attendance dipped and swelled. You can see what trends look like throughout the year. And then you can see in a lot of places, we've been able to make some headway from where we were at COVID. We're not quite back pre-COVID, but you can see some areas of strengths and some 6 weeks of strengths as we move forward. Again, you can also see attendance kind of reflects that same curve where we see higher attendance at elementary and then lower some places at middle school and then higher when we get back towards high school. But you can kind of see where we've moved. We had quite a bit of flu and sickness that happened in that 4th 6 weeks this year. You can see that reflected in there. So just information for you guys. Again, a reminder, as a public school, we are funded on attendance, not enrollment. So when you see that we have enrollment of 900, first off, pre-K is only funded on half a day. So half of our pre-K kids essentially don't count. So that automatically goes down to an 870. If you have 900, 30 of those kids only get, well, 60 of those kids only get half-day funding. So essentially we get funded for 30 kids. So that goes to 870, and then we're funded on attendance. So when you have a 94% attendance rate, 6% of the 870 don't count because they weren't here on any given day. So that drops then how we're funded as well. So that just kind of gives you an idea for funding. So that's some attendance tracking. And then on the academic side, when you look through here, I want to keep in mind fall benchmark or spring benchmark means an end of the year release test, but given at that time of year. So it's not surprising that those are going to be low in some places because they haven't learned all the material yet. But what we tried to do is kind of highlight the places where it went down from the previous year's STAR results, and then places where it's up already at that benchmark from the previous year's STAR results. So one of the things that you'll see, and if you're in leadership or if you want to not talk about it, I want to be very careful because we're a really small place. And it's easy to be able to single out a group of kids or a group of teachers or even a teacher. This is something we look at holistically, not intended to be an individual call out for any one person. When we look at this, though, one of the things we can see is our teachers, we know, are not all the way, but we have a lot of inexperience. We have long-term subs. We have transition that have happened in the classroom, and we can really see that reflected in our student data. And so when we talk about things that are going to keep teachers, this is why. Because it's really hard to grow student data when you have teacher transition, when you have teachers that are new to the classroom, or when you have a long-term sub in the classroom for most of the year, if not the whole year. So that is information that you can see. We are right in the heat in the middle of STAR testing right now. One of the other things that you'll see coming out next week is TEA is releasing the 2023 accountability scores. 2023 are going to be released, and more than likely in a couple of months, 2024 is going to be released. And then a couple of months after that, 25 this year is going to be released. So it is likely that us and our families are actually going to get 3 years of accountability in a period of 5 months. So we're not going to be able to do a whole lot about the 23 or the 24, because that's a year and 2 years past. But we have already done all of our own calculations on those. We are already acting on the information we had from that. We have already moved forward on that. We didn't wait on their accountability to tell us places where we were weak or where we were strong. We've already acted on that. We've already reported it to you guys. So you won't see anything, I don't think, that's surprising coming through that. But that information is going to be public next week for 23. More than likely in a couple of months or less for 24. And then August will be here before you know it. And that'll be this year's accountability for 25. So this is information we're going to kind of track for you as we have it. So some quarters, it may just be behavior and attendance that's updated. Some quarters, it may be that we have benchmarks that we're able to kind of plug in for you for that. So this is just information that'll be provided to you guys so you can kind of keep track. Those are the big 3 indicators that y'all had talked about wanting to kind of look at and manage. Thoughts, questions?
I have a question to make sure I'm understanding what.
Which tab? Okay.
So, okay, so like for 7th grade, 2024 is highlighted in red.
So
I don't understand why. That's kind of where I'm trying to figure out what's the dark red on some of these.
Yeah, because it went down from the 2023 numbers. It shows a decrease.
Oh, I understand. Okay, all right.
But
Okay.
it didn't.
So like from 2022 math, 81, 8th grade math, like 81, 28 before. The next year, and the next year dropped from the 72.
Got it. Oh, okay, all right.
So it either shows a jump or a loss, depending on the color.
Got it. Good. Awesome.
Yep.
I was just trying to make sure I understood the color.
It should be. Now it could be that I color coded incorrectly on a seller
No,
too, but
okay.
it should be the previous year. If it went down, it's red. If it goes up, it's green. If it's essentially neutral, it should be blank or orange. All right. So that's an update presented to you guys. If there's ever any other data that you want to see, I'm happy to pull any other information off for you guys if it's available. If you just have an individual question, that's fine too.
Thank you. This is really helpful, this overview.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions on that? We move forward to the board self-assessment. This got bumped from our March meetings that we could make city council. So that document, it's available in the March drive still. If you click on the summary tab, you can get an overview.
Go pull it.
Give me a second to find it.
And I'll pull it up here.
So you look at our cumulative score self-assessment, took a little bit of a dip from our last assessment done in October. The two measures that were below a 3 had all directors present, attendance, and then ending in a timely fashion. So, the good news is it's low hanging fruit.
So one of the things I found interesting is the ended in a timely fashion one. And I'm going to take this board assessment, self-assessment that you guys have done. And when we talk about strategic planning and board training in the fall, pull your historical data and give it to whoever it is that is going to lead that training. Because I also think some of this is, do we all have the same view, right? Of what are we expecting from this? Like, what does start on time mean? Does it mean within 5 minutes, or does it mean like 5 minutes early, right? Or when we say ends in a timely fashion, do some people expect an hour no matter what? And some people, hey, as long as we're done by 8 o'clock, we're good. I think there's some, not negativity, but like just, I don't know I don't know that you're all on the same page for all the things. And that may be some of the disparity in a little bit of that. I mean, everybody's present is everybody's present, right? Like, I mean, that one's pretty simple, but some of these I thought it was pretty interesting, like what went up or what went down, and what was high, and what was low. And
Ended in a timely fashion going down from October 1 was interesting because it was right after that really long meeting training that the assessment happened. So everyone's like, oh yeah, that meeting's really long.
That was not in a timely fashion. Yep. And maybe
But on that one, like, I consider that like, was this a productive time or was it a waste of time? It's like being timely. So it's not necessarily a duration. It's like, was this productive or was it not?
But I think as the board really gets more consistent, I mean, been consistent for a year, which is exciting, right? To do that, considering it was almost never before. So as you do that, the next logical step is, hey, okay, so we're starting to measure ourselves. Are we all on the same page? Does the board have the same feeling? I did not have one in January.
I think y'all filled this out in February. And so we were supposed to talk about it in March.
Got it.
But I also note that there's another item, it's number 11, not included discussions, which were not pertinent to the agenda. So that's a lower score too. That might also be relevant or related to the timely fashion. There's a sentiment that we kind of get off track some. Any other surprises or thoughts or recommendations?
We do have an issue with the authority data, some of them on 5-point scale, you see average out over 4.
Yes.
So I don't remember.
So did we really go down or were we just overestimating?
Okay. I will make a note to go back and just double check on that October one.
It's true, but I appreciate it, making sure you're reviewing all the materials before we show up really makes, our time well spent together, those types of things that are within our control. Those would be helpful.
No, I don't know on this board meetings have section that be something like.
Which item?
Just that section 8 through 13, just perhaps maybe us having less ambiguity as to what those questions are. Maybe as in with the training or something to say, this is what these items mean.
recalibrate on our measures all the time when we do like evaluations or things like that, and that just may be a calibration piece.
Still maintain it's a remarkable difference of than where we were a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. When I go in order, when I stick to the agenda.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, it all gets covered. No,
Yeah, it doesn't say the agenda.
Yeah.
True.
Yep, okay. So, any other questions on that? I don't want to rush that through, but thank you for paying attention to that. And, next we will move into closed session for the superintendent evaluation.
Just 1 second to.
Is there an action item?
Not for that one. Oh, superintendent, yes.
So good catch. You have to move into closed session.
I know the motion that we moved, I'm sorry, here. You go.
This makes sense.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, time is 7:09.
Okay, it will be, yeah. So I'm stopping to share. I am.
Make motion and page.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
8:23. Thank you.
Way to go.